All righty then, welcome in for another episode of Making It Rain. As always, my co-host Joe Paterino. How you doing, my man?
I am doing swell on this Wednesday evening, Randon. How are you? And might I say happy birthday, Randon.
Well, thank you. Yeah, it is my birthday, turning the big 3-5. Celebrated this last weekend, so I'm here with you folk tonight, or you guys are probably going to listen to it tomorrow. So happy belated to me in your eyes. But it's good. Work today. Had another podcast for the Niners before this one and on this one. So just talking all sports, which is what I love to do. So
attaboy.
It's been pretty good. Before we get started, as always, you can find us at hockeyroyalty.com with our articles all the time, on Twitter at hockey_royalty and royalty_pod. We are on Bleacher Reports. Our articles are getting out there all the time. Stuff flowing daily, pre and post for all the games, as well as pieces that dive deeper into different athletes, as you just did a piece for Jared Dolan recently. I know the draft is coming up and all that kind of stuff like that. So plenty of content for you guys. We do also have some tricks up our sleeve that I will keep hidden until the announcement comes out, but keep an ear out for that. And let's dive right in, my man. Let's start it off with the ticker here on the bottom, and then we'll show that as well. Drew Doughty, Silver Stick. So obviously the big guy, the toothless wonder there, had his ceremony for the 1,000th game that he was at. I think that was the Islanders game on the road. Big break. So Kings fans looking forward to this. What a monumental occasion. I thought it was a phenomenal ceremony. Plenty of gifts. Whole family was there. Kids were there. You could see that he loves being a father. The kid right on his hip the whole time. And then, the big three that have been there, I think they said that they're the only triad to play over 1,000 games together, or at least the only triad active in the NHL at this moment to play all those games together, being Kopitar, Brown, and Doughty. So congrats to them for that there. But Quick was also up there. Obviously the banner team. So man, it was plenty of fun, plenty of awesome memories there, watching the highlights in there, and then him just smiling and everything like that. What's your fondest memory of Drew Doughty? And were you able to catch a little bit of the after play? Because I know you had a away game for your high school team last night.
Yeah. So first of all, really cool ceremony. I thought it was awesome that he had those other three guys up there with him. Quick, Kopitar, Brownie. I thought that was really cool. And a little bit of a funny, I saw, what he said about, thanking Edmonton. He knows this sucks, but we'll get going here pretty soon, as in true Doughty fashion. So it was cool. The one thing that sticks out to me with Doughty, and man, first of all, we're going to look back as Kings fans in a few years here when it's all done with Doughty and these other Kopitar and Brownie and Quick. It's like, what a run. I mean, it feels like just yesterday that these guys were just starting, but so it's been a blast. But I think of the first thing that popped in my head when thinking about, man, Doughty memories was that game 2 in the Cup final against New Jersey. He scored in the first period a bit of an end-to-end rush. He made an awesome move just inside the blue line to beat one of the Jersey defenders and just zip one past Brodeur. It was such a sweet goal, and I actually immediately went back and watched that. It was one of my favorite memories in terms of moments for Drew Doughty, and just what a player, what a special player that the Kings have had the privilege of having. And to be honest with you, like he had a couple of years there where like it was getting a little rocky. Everybody was talking about how he's fallen off and the contract's horrible and he's done. The Kings are in trouble, and he has had a resurgence here the last couple of seasons. So good on him, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, great. I love that memory there. I think the one that stuck out in my mind, and they had it on the video, was when we're having that little rivalry with Calgary, and we were in Calgary, and he got the game winner, and then just dive for chest first into the glass. Like, that's right, mother effers. Like that's what you're talking about. That's his attitude there. So, I really enjoy him. You couldn't ask for anything better. Interesting thing that he said, that the only thing he regrets is not taking his health seriously when he was younger, working out and doing all that kind of stuff. I know he hates that nickname Donut when he was a younger guy, but hypothetically, what could he have been better if he was like working out in the gym and not just skating and having fun?
he was number 2 overall pick. He was really, really good right from the get-go. A couple of cups, a bunch of all-stars, gold medals. Like I'd say he's done all right.
I'm not saying that his career has been bad, but like if you're saying like, hey, like if I didn't work out at all and I'm an NHL Norris Trophy winner,
right?
Like if he hired a personal trainer and ate healthier, like what could he have done? Rambled off 3 or 4 consecutive Norris trophies and all that kind of stuff. It would have been interesting hypothetical to talk about, but great career so far. My mind, first year Hall of Famer as soon as he's eligible, and one heck of a guy from the looks of it.
Yeah, some guys, man, are just blessed to be able to. I don't want to say not put in work because I'm sure and especially as his career has gone on, he's done a lot to take care of his body because he's playing. He's turned it around. Like he's playing at a high level again as he's getting into his mid-30s. And but some guys, you look at Phil Kessel. He's another one that just he doesn't have to do for whatever reason the same as some other guys do, and he's able to put up huge seasons year in and year out. So some of those guys just have it.
Yeah, so it's so funny. Like, I mean, it's a different sport, but the first guy that popped in my mind was like David Wells, right? Like, it's just like he doesn't look like an athlete, but he's up there, tossing in the World Series for the Yankees and stuff like that. And it's just kind of crazy there. So, yeah, thank you, Drew, for the 1,000 man, and hopefully we see quite a bit more and can raise another cup in your career there. So, let's move it on here. The Olympics, right? You mentioned. We didn't mention it. I think right now when we're talking, the U.S. women's game is going to be coming up here soon. I didn't look at the schedule before coming on.
About an hour and a half.
Yeah, the gold medal game's coming up. So go Team USA at this point. And we'll see how that there. But Team USA lost last night to Slovakia in the shootout. We were the number 1 seed coming out of our pool. So kind of a little dagger to the heart there, but let's relate it to the Kings a little bit. Faber was relied on. He had played the most minutes of any player on Team USA and showed and put another feather in his cap.
Yeah, he did exactly what he's kind of just slowly but surely in his progression just is playing this style of game where he's able to play a ton of minutes. He played over 24 minutes a game, which is pretty impressive for such a young kid playing at this level. And we thought, we talked about it before, we did our kind of World Junior preview. It sort of tied it into the Olympics of, this is another opportunity for him to kind of showcase what he can do on a bigger stage. And I think he answered the call. I mean, if a coach is calling you to play 24 minutes a night, you're doing something right. And he's proven to be a really responsible defensive player. He took a big hit right off the hop early in the tournament, shook that off, and it maybe sometimes, not going to speak for Faber, but sometimes that stuff is, not that you needed it to grab any sort of, motivation or anything like that, but it helps you kind of get into the game. Like, okay, we're here and these guys are here to play, and, we're going to have to get after it. And, he individually had a solid tournament. And I just hope that he just continues this progression, goes into Minnesota, finishes that year strong, and then we'll see him somewhere, whether it's LA or Ontario in the second, in a month or so. Right. So, or a couple months. So I think it's a good tournament for him to showcase what he can do. I think it's telling, given the minutes he played, that the coaches thought the same thing.
Everywhere he's went, he's earned trust instantly. And, I believe last year on the World Juniors, he was slotted in the beginning of U.S. camp as the 3rd pair and instantly became a 1st pair guy after one game. You could say, I don't know if he was favored to be the ice leader for a defenseman going in. I didn't read anything to support or deny that, but he definitely earned that going in. And T-Mac's a coach for the Kings that loves reliability. He knows what he's going to get from you. And, if he's coming in next season, I mean, I assume he'll start on the Reign after the NCAA. But next year in camp, reliability might be a big thing, whether you believe in offensive upside of Jersey, or is Walker and Roy still going to be there? They're going to be traded away. But, I mean, good gap control, which is his biggest strength, and his intelligence of where to be at the right time translates universally, is what it's showing based on the level of competition that it's worked on consistently. I know there's another jump going to the NHL, but I wouldn't be surprised seeing him in a Kings uni at the beginning of next season, depending on what moves they do and do not make.
I don't know if this is going to be controversial in any way, but given the depth that they have along the right side, I would use him as a trade piece. I think he's all he's doing is gaining trade value, I would say, especially after the looks of the tournament. And the reason I say that is just of their depth on the right side, right? And somebody's going to have to go. And the one thing I question is I don't know what the offensive production is going to be from him as he turns pro. I'm just not sure. And I think we're seeing what the offensive production can be from the likes of Dursey and the likes of Jordan Spence. Helgi Grans is having a decent season offensively for the Reign, and he's at such a young age in his first year pro. So I think that, if he's maybe I'll word it this way. If he's a guy that a team wants to be part of the key pieces in a prospect deal coming back, we'll just say Chikrin, for example, pick your name, whatever, that say Arizona wants Brock Faber as a key piece. I'm not hesitating on doing that because they have the depth to do it. So the only questions I have is, will he produce as he gets up to the pro level? He's not been a huge point producer to this point in his career. So to expect it to turn and become that at the NHL level. So I guess what I'm getting at is if you have all these right shot guys that are producing and looking like really exciting offensive players, plus you have a guy like Matt Roy, who's under contract for a little bit longer, he just signed a 3-year deal. He's still young. He's in his kind of mid-20s, and he's proven to be that steady Eddie, Mr. Reliable. So if they already kind of have that guy established at the NHL level, if Faber can net you a gem, I do it. And that's not to be a knock on Faber or anything like that. If anything, it's a compliment, right? But that's
eventually somebody's going to have to get moved out. I mean, you can't play 5 right shot D. So I 2 points to that. One is we talked about perceived value or increase in value based on where you started as a professional hockey player or after being drafted, right? 2nd round pick from the Toffoli deal there. And now based on his play, not only in college, World Juniors, the Olympics, he's probably got a 1st round value in a trade scenario. Right? Like if they're saying that Chikrin, we're going to continue using that deal, wants multiple 1st round value type players, he probably has that at this point. 2, you're like, okay, again, what is the team? Do they want prospects? Mm-hmm. Do they want a movable piece right now? Right? Does Arizona say, hey, like we want a guy that can start right now on the 2nd line? Well, that would be Roy, or that would be maybe Jersey, and then you keep Faber or something like that. You still need guys that are minute eaters that aren't going to allow a lot of goals and be reliable. And maybe his offensive game is not poor; it's just good, and he doesn't give up very many points. And you need those guys too. And so, but yeah, eventually somebody's going to have to go. And I think you're right. I think his value is increased from a 2nd round to a 1st round grade if you were to give up that kind of option.
We'll just play for shits and giggles here. Where do you rank him? So you've got Clark, Dursey. I'll still include Dursey in this because, he's still just getting his first NHL action. So Clark, Dursey, Grans, Spence. So along the right side here, and then you've got Faber. So how do you kind of slot those 5 guys? Like this, is he obviously Clark's 1? I think we can probably agree on that. These next 4, you can probably shuffle in. You can probably make an argument for any of them. Really, Dursey's the one right now that's playing the NHL, but you see what Spence is doing in the AHL. Obviously, Grans is having a good season as a 19-year-old. So I don't know where you rank Faber, how you consider Faber compared to the rest of them, but again, I think of the bunch, I think I kind of prefer
probably 2 or 3.
Okay.
And here's why. He's proven that he can do it against adults. He's not in the AHL. He's proven in his short sample size for the Olympics. I get that.
Yep.
But he dominated pretty much in the World Juniors as far as a defensive stalwart. He's playing in the NCAA, which by all accounts, he's doing a phenomenal job there. So if my thought process is which pick or which player, if I keep, has the highest likelihood of hitting that successful threshold of games played, and I would say Faber would be up there because of his reliability. As far as his skill set, I would put Jersey or Spence over it offensively because offense is harder to find, but because of his reliability and his able to eat minutes, I'd say he's probably 2 in that aspect of the fact that you could plug him anywhere in the first, second, or third line, knowing that he's already played against men, playing 25 minutes a night, and he could do that. 2 or 3 would be where I would put him there on the likelihood of him being a solid NHLer.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, we're in agreement.
Splitting hairs, yeah,
exactly. And it's great that he's developing the way he's developing. And if the Kings if he sticks in the Kings organization and they go a different direction in a trade, great, good on him. But I think that it's a one of those quote unquote good problems. I think for the Kings to have, and it's just a matter of when do you pull the trigger, because you don't want guys to have that value and then as they play, the value comes down, and now you've lost it, right? Like you look at a guy like Gabe Velarde early in the season, 0, nothing. He couldn't have had any less trade value when he got sent down to Ontario, and you just want to kind of avoid that situation, I think, if you can.
Outside of injury, I don't think his trade value will drop
Faber?
by the end of the season. Yeah.
Oh, agreed. By the end of the season, completely agree. I'm just
because NCAA, he's proven that he can do it. Minnesota should take a decent run, and then if he plays for the AHL, you could say as a guy like, oh well, it's just him adjusting to the different game. He only had a small sample size.
Yep.
You can't make any adjustments on that. You could make that argument. But other guys in the organization, Spence has obviously risen his stock from a 4th round pick to a 2nd or 1st round grade, playing at the level he's playing at the level below. Grons is probably even as a 2nd round grade is probably what I would say, but he hasn't been discouraged there. And Jersey is not proven, but he's an NHLer that if you were to trade for him, you would know what you would be getting. You'd be getting a definitely power play 2 with power play 1 potential that you could plug and play right now. So
yeah, of the crop, Jersey, just by sheer fact that he's played the NHL games, is at least the most kind of quote unquote known product of the bunch. So depending on what a team's looking for, who knows, that may determine it. But good on Faber, good tournament individually for him. Unfortunate for the United States that they had a heartbreaker last night. So hopefully the women pull it off tonight.
Yeah, we'll hope so. And then look, we've been saying this ad nauseum. Moves are going to have to happen. They got $1 billion right shot D under contract, and there's only 3 slots. So maybe 4 if you include the 7th guy or making one guy play the other end. But moves are going to have to make, and he's definitely increased his stock. And it'd be interesting if a team would include him over a guy like Spence or Jersey or I would say Grons is probably the lowest. No offense to him, but he's probably the lowest of the 5. So you're looking at whether a team wants more reliability or offensive output. So we'll see. We'll see how it works out. He's definitely an opportunity. I think, like the Kings said, or like we said in the midway, I think the only untouchables are probably Byfield, Kaliev with the way that he's playing this season, and Clark, and everybody else is on the table.
That's probably fair.
Yeah. So let's get into the games. We missed last week with a little scheduling thing here. And so we have a ton of game to talk about, some ups and downs over the 5, a couple double headers here, and then the last one with the Condor. So start with the Grand Rapids, going outside the Pacific here, making that a little trek up there, up north. And
they came over there. That's not too far from where I am, a few hours away from me.
Yeah. So, you could have made the road trip, man, if you wanted to. But first game came out hot, man, and went on the road. Came out hot, 5-2 win. Got outshot in this game, so a little reverse luck of what the LA Kings seem to have all the time, out shooting and not being able to score. They had plenty of goals in here. Started off quick with a power play goal, keeping the power play hot with Jared Anderson-Dolan from Tynan and Spence. I think you could probably find a power play combo line name, whatever you want to do for that, because that triad has been coming up rather a lot lately.
Yeah, and with Anderson Dolan, I put it in the piece I just wrote about him, is and Spence talking about him and Spence is they've got definitely a connection. He's got 3 tip-in goals all on Spence point shots, and you can see that there's a certain chemistry there. I think that there's a timing with when Anderson Dolan is able to make his way to the front of the net. I know this particular game it wasn't a tip-in goal, but there's, to your point, there's something going on with this trio, and Jared Anderson Dolan's just been an absolute rock on that first unit all season.
Savage. Yeah.
Right? He's been great.
Yeah, and I think he's done exactly what we asked of him in the beginning of the season. Add dimension to your game, and right now I would not be upset if they brought him up to the Kings, because the fact that you haven't got any goals from Brown. I don't want to get beat up Brown any more than that we already have in previous podcasts, but the power play doesn't look any different after the couple weeks, and that was a little bit of disappointment for me. We didn't see Byfield, we didn't see any of those kind of changes. It looked the same ragtag, like let's just piece it together. And for me, that was a little bit of a disappointment. And I think it's a skill set. We saw it for over a decade from a Shark named Joe Pavelski. It's a skill to time when to be in front of the net, where to be in depth, and tipping those pucks in. It's a very much a skill set, not only physically but mentally, of getting that timing in. And Anderson Dolan has seemed to at least develop that foundation for that skill set, as well as Jordan Spence being able to find the holes to get it to him.
And it's also the ability, and I think this is in part what makes certain guys on the power play so effective, is how quickly they process the game. So I look at that. He had an assist on Gabe Velarde's goal in their last game against Stockton, but it was a shot from the point and a rebound. And so often, even at the pro level, you see guys just the rebound kicks out and they just whack it, right? They just throw it back on net. He didn't do that. The rebound kicks out. He corrals the rebound, takes a pause, waits a second, and finds Velarde. It pulls the goalie. He pulls the goalie toward him. He throws it to the front of Velarde, who taps it in the empty net. And again, that's just a processing thing where he recognizes, he knows where Velarde is. He doesn't have to panic. He doesn't have to make a rush play. I'll settle the puck and I'll make the feed to Velarde. So he has really done a nice job in that low spot. That again, I'm not necessarily saying Kings call him up, put him on PP1. I'm not. I get that may be a little bit crazy, but he's doing a really nice job in that position this year.
It doesn't really matter which power play you put him on, because both Doughty and Dursey like to shoot a lot. But I am saying that. I'm saying they should call him up. So and the power play still remains first, and we saw it in this game, or first in the Pacific. We saw it in this game with going 3 out of 4. So the second period, Wagner gets his 10th of the year, and then Furk on the power play gets his 20th of the year with Spence and Tynan there on the power play. Shocker, more power play points for Spence and Tynan. Tynan is still second in the league in total points with 8 goals and 44 assists for 52. Just keeping that steamroll going. But yeah, the second period, they kept it up with capitalizing, and that moved well onto the third period with Fagemo getting his 14th of the year, assist from Turcotte and Velarde, and then Turcotte gets his own goal in the power play, assist for Madden and Fagemo there. So good game for Turcotte, getting 2 points in the third. I thought he was one of his more when I watched this, if I remember correctly, because I didn't rewatch this game, but my thought process, he looked a lot more consistently visible in this game, especially in the third. Nice to get him, see him get rewarded.
He's strung a few games together. That was his third game in a row with a goal too. So he'd started to, because we've been kind of talking about, like, he's playing a fine game. He's playing a good two-way game, but the production's kind of, hit and miss. So he got a little hot there for a bit. And I actually think that was in the midst of his 6-game point streak just ended against Bakersfield. So he started to put some things together from a production standpoint, which is good to see. Good him getting rewarded for the work he is putting in.
Yeah, it's great. And he's right around, if you look at a points per game basis, if you take away a couple of the guys that only were up there for 1 or 5 games, he's still, 8th on the team. at 0.69. So he's starting to put together a little bit here and there. 18 points on the season, and we'll see how that works out. So, anything else on this game before we go to the second half of the doubleheader there?
Matty Villalta, 35 saves. He
Yeah.
is, and I was going to note it a little bit later, but I'll just do it now. 6 straight starts, he's had to make over 30 saves. So the Reign aren't giving up a ton of shots on goal, but Matty V, good game out of him.
Nice. So let's go to the second game there. This game a little bit more on the opposite side. 5-3 Griffins. Griffins outshot the Ontario Reign 37-31 with a punishing first period that may not look that bad by the score sheet, considering it was 3-2 after one. But Grand Rapids put up 23 shots.
They did, and it's been an issue. The Reign are giving up a fair amount of shots on goal. I mean, this is a game where their goaltending got absolutely peppered. Actually, Ingham started this game, if I'm not mistaken. A little bit of a rough go for him today, or today in that particular game. But again, another power play goal that they gave up. And as you'll get to, I'm sure, this was a strange game for the Reign. They went 0 for 7 on the power play, and in doing so, they gave up 2 shorties in this one, which has been pretty rare this season. They had only given up 1 up until this point.
Yeah, it was shorties all night. There was 3 of them in the game. You don't often see that. Brett Sutter had one at the end of the first, on the Griffins power play there. So goal from Gabriel Velarde there in the first, and then Brett Sutter with the shorty. You're also looking at Jad from Turcotte and Velarde. So obviously Turcotte, like you said, extending the point streak there. Velarde getting 2 points on the day, and Jad there. So yeah, tough go in between the pipes. You saw that. I think maybe you could take a positive out of this game. Would be in the third period. Ontario did score to try to get going back. They scored at 19-13, way late, but they did score. But they held Griffins to 3 shots, so they were consistent on the defensive end. Couldn't get the offense going, and very rarely you're going to see a team who's first in power play go 0 for 7.
Yeah.
So some games are just anomalies, and you got to give them to the Griffins. They beat us. Little lapses in judgment, and maybe the 0 for 7 was pressing them, and so they were making mistakes on allowing the return shots from the shorthanders.
For as good as they've been offensively and on the power play specifically, I'm willing to chalk this one up as just kind of one of those games. But I've said it a couple of times now, a theme in terms of they're also giving up a lot of opportunities.
Yeah. All right, let's switch it over to the Stockton Heat games here. So battling for 1 and 2 in the division right now. Let's look at the standings. Heat standing up the top as of this morning when I looked it up. 27, 8, 3 and 1 for 58 points. Reign are right behind them, 2 points behind at 25, 9, 3 and 3 at 56. But this game started off here with the Reign up 5-2. A lot of 5-2s, a lot of 5-3s in the first 3 games here. Started off 1-1. Emilio Pettersson for the Stockton Heat gets it up early, 2 minutes into the game. But then Tyler Madden from Jordan Spence, and then Akil Thomas gets his first assist of the season. Tyler Madden's 12th goal on the year.
Good for Madden. He's a making it rain favorite. Nice to see him get on the board. He's been, after kind of a stretch without a lot of goals, he's kind of started to be relatively consistent. He's finding the net more often, getting a lot of good opportunities. Again, like I said, we like him on this show, so nice to see him continue to put the puck in the net.
Yeah, a little bit different day from not only the Reign, but back-to-back games with no power play goals, 0 for 3 in this game, but they also did not give up one. So a little bit more sturdier on the special teams, stopping all 4 opportunities for Stockton. If we move it into the second period, it was all Reign on this one. The shots didn't show the pitcher. 15-12 in favor of Ontario, but we put 3 in the back of Twine.
Yeah, that was it. And I'll tell you, this game, it was one of those with you're getting contributions, and we've talked about this before. We're getting contributions from other guys. Helgi Grans jumps up into the play and kind of puts home a second chance opportunities from behind the net, actually. Austin Strand with a zipper from just inside the right point. So you're getting that contribution from the D-men. That was nice to see. And again, Jod just buries it. He's just continued his strong season. So that's, again, big second period, like you said.
Yeah, Turcotte continues a point streak with back-to-back 2 assists in the second period. Jad gets his 17th of the season, which puts him in second place on the Reign. Martin Ferk with 22, Jad 17, Samuel Fagimo with 15 on the year. So definitely a strong second period there. And then, wrong game. Yeah, strong second period there. And then they put it away with the empty netter for Martin Ferk, and TJ Tynan just gets a nice little assist on that to pad his stats.
And 33 more saves for Matt Villalta.
Yeah, really stepping up. Consistency is what we've been asking of him, and I think he's been very consistent of late.
Absolutely. He had one rough stretch, 3 games in a row, 4 goals against, a little bit of a rough patch. Other than that, he's been kind of under the radar solid, I would say. I'll say the one thing I'll say, though, and I hate to beat up on it because he's had a good season, but, especially going back to the Grand Rapids games, the first game against Grand Rapids, they win 5-2. I kind of want those 2 goals back. Right? They beat them tweeners. I think they were both tweeners. The first one was like he still at times has a tendency to give one up. Even if he's playing well, he gives up one where it's like, he probably wants that one back.
Yeah.
So there's progress, but I still think there's more to come, which is good because I think there's still a better goalie in here too.
Yeah. So a progression there, and when we move into the final one, final in a shootout there, Stockton Heat, and this was a slugfest, back forth. Like, oh my gosh, man! Like, it was just like never ending. Like, this person scores back there. Total shots 50-34. So goalie's getting peppered in this one. Stockton Heat unfortunately pulled it out 6-5. But let's start it off in the first period here. Heat come out kicking really fast with Kirkland and Simpson getting back-to-back goals within a minute and a half.
Yeah, you figured they were going to come out pretty hot the second game. They just lost the game before, so not too surprising to see them jump out to the lead. But big for the Reign, they get a late power play, and it takes them no time to score the goal. I mean, I think that power play goal happened within. I'd have to see the box score. Within seconds, it felt like, right? 10 seconds went off the clock, really, I think, before Vilardi buried it. So that was a big goal to keep them, get going into the second period down 2-1 instead of 2-0.
Yeah, huge goal there. And then it really ended the 2-game streak with no power play goals there. And so definitely going to get back on it. Jab with the assist with Ferk. And so going to the second, it doesn't seem that bad, right? You're only down 2-1. You probably got outplayed most of the period. It was time for Ontario to come back at it, and boom, Heat get their third of the night. Luke Phillip, and we're can we just get something going here? We need to get something going, and the power play came up big again, 3 for 5 on the night, and Gabriel Vilardi gets his second power play goal of the game.
How good has Vilardi been? Over a point a game now in the AHL. He has done just, I think, exactly what we as fans were hoping to see. He went down, and he's played very, very well, and the production is there. He's been a creative player, scoring on the power play. It's great to see, and I think the 2 names, if I had to pick 2 names that I want to see in Los Angeles, it's Vilardi and Jared Anderson-Dolan ahead of anybody else.
Yeah.
I'm extremely happy with his play.
And who would you know? Jared Anderson-Dolan with the assist and TJ Tynan there. So yeah, getting back at it, and then this was the I don't know if this was the first game that Kupari was down there. No, he played the game before. So got sent down, but gets a goal in this one from Tyler Madden and Wagner for the season for the Reign there. And then, boom, tied back up at 3. So this is where the slugfest happened back and forth. If you look at all those 3 goals in the second, came within 4 minutes of each other. And so it seemed just like as much as we were getting the updates on Twitter and watching it live, it was happening in the game just as fast. And then you get Byron Froze, I think that's how you pronounce it, with his 12th of the season. And another late goal with 1938 power play, Samuel Fagimo from Spence and Tynan.
And another power play goal. It was Fagimo's over there on that left circle, one-time shot off the wall, and it snuck its way in. So And he had and I know we'll get to it, but boy, he had a beauty shootout goal Fagemo did in this game
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Whew.
So going there, you're looking at, man, three out of 5 this game. The power play is getting going. We're looking good here. We're looking good. And then not only that, if you look at sneaky right now, the penalty kill is holding their own, right?
Yeah.
So back-to-back games, they didn't give up a goal there. They only gave up 2. So you're looking at that 16 power play opportunities, only 2 goals. So 2 goals in 16 opportunities in 4 games. Hey, we're not near the bottom anymore, or we're moving up. Instead of 8th, we're 7th in the Pacific now. So give it up for the penalty kill. Major points. I think they moved up 1.7% in these 5 games. They're at 76.3 on the season. Let's kick it over to the third quarter here, or period. You're looking at Heat started off at 8:30 within the period. Pedersen gets his first or third of the season.
Yeah, and you alluded to it before. Just it's been a bit of a slugfest, kind of back and forth. So you know, whoever take the next shot, but you figured you hope that the rain were going to keep coming, and they did later in the period. But it was one of those games where you knew that this wasn't done scoring. Somebody was going to put pucks in the net in the third period.
Yeah, and that happened to be Rasmus Kupari with his second of the game. Good for Rasmus. I think you look at. I thought he came up in the Kings, looked pretty good. Had a couple a fair share of points early, and then went on that dry spell. We talked about in the Kings halfway point that he was probably the one referencing that. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. He's utilizing that feet to get to the net, driving the hole. What you're seeing Adrian Kempe do more consistently this year, what Athanasiou does a lot, utilizing his best skill to his advantage. And so I think this is probably a little bit of a confidence booster, getting 2 goals in this game.
Yeah, I think it's good. And you saw his reaction to the tying goal. It was a nice play in front of the net off a rebound. He bangs home into the empty net there on the rebound. So late in the game, he was pumped to tie it up, but he gets 2 goals. His first one was kind of a nice play, odd man rush. He's going hard to the net, down the center lane drive there, and is able to put it in. So two good kind of hard working goals for him that maybe some people aren't necessarily expecting to see from a skilled player like Kupari, but he's got that. He'll go to the dirty areas if he has to. And he did that in this game.
He's been known as a perimeter player his whole life, and I think that if he's going to make, one thing we asked Jad to improve his game, and Kupari needs to improve his game and take the puck when he has it from on his own into the center, and then be able to make more plays in the dirty areas to kind of help with his goals. It's very hard to shoot from the outside and score and not take the puck in, and you have to have that different dimension to your game. And so maybe this is kind of like a little flash in the head of his that he needs to be able to create at different levels. So kick it over to overtime, no scoring, no penalties there. The Ontario Reign outshot them 3-2. But you're looking at Villalta gave up 5 in this game. So not great on the overall goals, but when you're getting peppered with 50 shots,
right.
The Heat were definitely hot as far as creating opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, it was. Yeah, you're right. It was. It's hard to say that a goaltender had a great game when he gives up a handful, but at the same time, he made 45 saves. So, it's another stretch. He had a stretch of 6 games in a row where he had to make over 33 saves. So he has been a very busy goaltender. There's no question about it.
Yeah, I guess seeing more shots is going to get him developed here. So we go to the shootout here. Velarde gets a yes. Kirkland gets a yes, and then Madden did not make it in there, and then Matthew Phillips gets it. So Heat are up 2-1. We need a big goal, and up comes to the dot Samuel Fagemo. Talk us through what you saw from the fantastic shootout goal and that poetry in motion.
I wasn't sure what to expect. So he's coming down as a right-hand shot, comes down the left side. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's see. And knowing that he's a shooter, I was kind of expecting him to shoot. So I just wasn't sure where he was going to go. Was he going to be a high glove guy, a low blocker? Was he going to go tweeners? And he kind of like pulls the puck and turns his body back just a bit to create a little bit of this hesitation. and then just fires a quick release to the glove side. And I was like, that you can tell it totally fooled the goaltender. It was a really, really subtle but nice shot, nice deception, heck of a release, and that was nice.
Yeah, ties it up at 2 there, and then big save on Conazari, a very high touted prospect for that organization to cap off the 3 shooters. So then we go into little extra shots. Kill Thomas gets the opportunity, does not able to put it in, and then Heat finish it off. Papasil puts the goal in. So overall, in this game, Reign did everything they could to stay in this game. The Heat were peppering them constantly. Comes out to a shootout goal. You get 1 point. It would have been nice to take both of them here and push yourself into that lead. But positives to take away. Rasmus gets 2. There. Samuel Fagimo gets a power play goal and gets a nice little shootout goal. So he gets 2, and Gabriel Velarde gets 2 as well. So a couple of pairs, a trio of pairs there for the game. Spence stays hot with the assist train. Tynan does what he does. And so, I mean, we could say that all the time. And then the team looked pretty decent in this one.
I think, listen, you go to Stockton, big series, trying to get the division, and you take 3 out of 4 points. I think you take that, right? So all in all, I think that's a good weekend.
So let's move on to the last game, a single game against the Bakersfield. This one was not pretty. And so 5-1. This I'm going to let you kind of lead it on this one here because I did not get a chance to finish this full game. So looking at the first period, doesn't look that bad. Ontario's up 14-10 in the shots. Luke Esposito with his 7th of the year, and then Anderson Dolan and Ferk combined to get a goal in the first. So at the end of one, it's 1-1.
Yeah, it was 1-1. It was a good game, back and forth. And I thought the goal that Esposito scored was kind of a bit of a broken play down low, kind of squeaked past Ingham in tight there, but Ferk with an absolute laser from the slot to tie it. So after 1, you're like, okay, it's not a bad period, a rare 0 for 2 for the Reign on the power play in the period. But all in all, it was a 1-1 game on the road. So I think overall it wasn't a bad period.
Then we go to the second one, and kind of weird. I mean, you would assume giving up 4 goals in the second that Bakersfield would have had 26 shots or something, but only 7 shots on goal, 4 goals. It seemed like a lot broke down for that to happen.
So here's the thing, and I know that it's going to look very bad on Ingham, and I get it. Like, there's no way to spin it as it was good for Ingham to give up what he gave up in that period. But when you watch the goals, I mean, Cooper Marody was able to, he comes down the left side, cuts into the middle, virtually uncontested. And so he's got a free shot from right between the circles. Okay. Then the next 2 are Seth Griffith goals. And I'm telling you, you go watch the highlights of the goals. I don't know that I have the time in men's league to do what he does. He gets the puck and he's able to take a stick handle, look up, glide with 1 foot in the air. He's got the leg kick in stride, and he pauses, and he has that much time and still zips it. So you've got 3 point-blank shots of three situations where the player was allowed to skate right into the slot area, virtually uncontested. So yeah, okay, you hope maybe Ingham comes up with one, but they didn't do him any favors on those 3 goals. And then they give up a stretch pass breakaway to Lavoie. So, not a great, period for Ingham, but it's hard to put it all on him, though he had no help that period whatsoever. I know, like you said, it wasn't as if they got peppered in shots on goal, but man, those are unacceptable breakdowns. And those are situations that should not happen in the defensive zone.
Agreed. So Ingham gets pulled in this one. His final line, you're looking at 40 minutes, 12 saves on 17 shots. Not pretty. They put in Villalta for the third, and he gets a goose egg there. So no scoring from either team. Bakerfield's ended up winning 5-1 in this one. 0 for 6 on the power play from Ontario. Was it just no chemistry there in your opinion? Good penalty kill from Bakersfield, or a combination of that?
I thought Stalock played good in net for Bakersfield. I thought the power play, especially, I think it was one of the first period ones, they moved it around pretty good. I thought they had a couple of decent looks. It was one of those games where they didn't fall, but I thought Stalock played very well for Bakersfield in this one.
So let's go here with all those games. Plenty of options. The favorite always for the Reign. That's start of the week. That should be star of the week. The Reign star of the week is usually Tynan, based on what he does. So we could just give him this is the Tynan star of the week. So
the Tynan star of the week.
But who's your pick for star of the week here? You can give some honorable mentions if you'd like.
I think for honorable mentions, I think it was nice to see Turcotte continue his point streak. As I alluded to in the article I just wrote, I am all in on Jared Anderson-Dolan and what he's been doing this year. I thought he's had a good stretch, gave Velarde another good stretch. But for me, and I actually don't recall, I may have picked this one last time. Matt Villalta continues his strong play, even the game where he gave up 5 goals, including that game where he gave up 5 goals. He has got a .932 save percentage in his last 6 his last 7 appearances. Last 4 starts. He's got a .932 save percentage. He's faced 30 shots in his last 6 starts. The Reign, was going back to the shots on goal. They're 7th worst in the American Hockey League in shots on goal against per game. They're averaging over 31 shots against. So he has been busy. I've referenced this before. Sean O'Brien does a tableau on with a bunch of statistics. He's got a point shares metric that is compiled for using AHL data. And Matty Villalta's graded out as a goaltender who sees hard work but good results. So, and that's been his season. So outside the bad stretch, he's seeing a ton of rubber. I alluded to it earlier. I think there's a goal here and there that you kind of want him to have back, but you can't argue the way he's playing, I think, right now. And again, he did it again. He picked up 2 wins and a shootout loss. He was great in relief against Bakersfield. So Matty Villalta is my star of the week.
Yeah, good pick there, and nice to see progression. I was debating going back and forth on this. I know we've given a lot of love to obviously Tynan, Velarde, and Jad. I'm going to go Turcotte on this one. And the reason being is that this can't be easy for him, as far as one, his best friend is having the most success he could possibly have in Trevor Zegras. You're looking at the fact that having multiple injuries, and this is his first full season, came up, didn't really blow the top off the door, or the roof off the door, or however you want to put that. I'm fumbling over my own words here, but he gets sent back down. And so, like, what are you going to do? His biggest thing is you need to be a point producer to be a top 5 pick, right? Like what I wrote this or tweeted this out a month ago. Average top 5 pick plays over 840 something games. And so to do that, you have to be a successful player. Like you can't be a fourth liner for 800 plus games. You're going to have to be a top line player that kind of progresses his game. And he has that defensively, and he needs to have the offense. And to see him get a point streak for me was nice and promising for him. A couple games with multiple goals. Goals he had, I thought one in particular was a good shot where, we kind of make fun of him that all his goals come within 3 feet. So I just want
that's
him
okay. That's okay.
I just take goals wherever at this point. But, at some point he's going to have to, stop being that guy and try to give the opportunity of being a number 5 pick. It probably won't happen this year. I think I'm in agreement with you that Velarde and Jad are my top for forwards to come up first. But Turcotte's going to need to have he needs to show the leadership quality that the Calder race is going to have, which is for the Calder Trophy. He's going to have to play a major part in that for the Reign to win. 2, coming into camp, there's an unknown amount of spots available, and you're going to have Byfield being there. Velarde should have an opportunity. Jad's going to have the opportunity. You look at Kaliev's going to get moved up. So where does that fit for Turcotte? Is it probably not in the top 6. So, this might be something that he has to earn it again at another level in the NHL. So I don't know. Maybe he's the upgraded version of Lizotte and Jad moves to wing and gets more power play time. I don't know.
You better watch your mentions if you even put Turcotte and Lizotte in the same sentence, by the way. So what did you – I think –
that was a long-winded answer. Say I'm glad he started getting some points on the board.
And I am too. I am too. And I think – listen, I didn't think he needed to be up earlier. I think he needs to stay in Ontario. Just let him stay in Ontario. He's not necessarily an improvement over anything or offers anything different over anything they got in Los Angeles. Let him develop and get this year under his belt, his pro year in Ontario. The guys to call up offensively, depending on need, like if you're looking for a production, a goal scorer, I think it's Velarde. I think if you're a guy to fill in, can play jack of all trades, I think it's Jad. That's how I look at this. Keep Turcotte, let him produce. My question is, we referenced and we had Scott Wheeler on the show a while back, and he had said, and then he just came out with the rankings, and the Kings were second, and he kind of put in that ranking what he told us on the show was, he used the words middle. He used the phrase middle 6 instead of top 6 when he talked to us on the show, and his write-up says an impactful top 9 player. So, obviously things are starting to perhaps, I don't mean this in a negative way, but like shifting, right, in terms of where prospect folks see him go. He's still rated 3rd in the organization in terms of prospects. So obviously he's still highly touted. How does that land for you when you see Turcotte and maybe hear the words middle 6 and top 9 rather than top 6 or first line?
It sucks because your top 5 picks should be first line player. So, I mean, that's just in my opinion. But what if he's Iafallo?
Yeah,
reliable, has a little bit of offense to his game. Not a guy that maybe is a top 3 or top line player on a Stanley Cup winning team. But if you need him to play up there, he can. And he kind of just floats wherever the puzzle piece fits for Turcotte. And ultimately, if he's that and he plays 800 games because he's serviceable and dependable everywhere else, and his offense isn't elite as we thought it would be when he was averaging 2 points per game in his draft year, it's unfortunate based on my expectation. But if he helps us win cups and he produces on that games played level of around 800 and he's serviceable, then it's a successful pick. Is it disappointing that he's not top 5? Sure. Is it prospect envy that, Zagreus is doing spinorama goals in the All-Star already and we could have had him? Sure. I mean, there's always prospect envy, right? Like as far as Forbert versus Tarasenko, this and that. But in the grand scheme of things, if you go down the crystal ball lane and Turcotte plays his games allotted to be quoted a successful pick by the averages that I laid out earlier, and he's not a top line guy, but he gets it done in other ways and he's around the league for a long time, and we hoist a cup with him, I don't think people are going to care that he had to sit out all this year.
Yeah. And Wheeler mentioned it when we had him on the show that he's a future letter wearer as a future captain. But my thought again, as I alluded to with Faber, the Kings are in this spot where somebody's going to have to be on the way out. If Turcotte is still a blue chip to an organization and he is a piece, I'm not afraid to move him.
Me either.
I don't know. I don't know if that's, again, like I said with Faber, I don't know if that's a controversial opinion to have, but I'm not in the slightest afraid to move him. As you said before, I think the only untouchables from a prospect standpoint are Byfield and Clark, and you could probably include Kaliev in there, I suppose. But, the way I look at it is the Kings have their centers for the next, I think Kopitar's still got a few years left, to, at least hopefully. So you've got the centers for the next few years. On the wing, I suspect they're going to bring back Kempe. If he's not going to be a top 6 wing producer, Turcotte, where I think Velarde is and can be, I have no problem if he's a piece. If it takes, let's play a game. If it's Turcotte, let's just throw Chychrun again. Use him as the example. If it's Turcotte, Faber in a first or something like that, is that too much? Do you do that? Is it that could be at least what it costs?
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I'm not. I think that I've said it before. Like, as much as we want to be fans and we love the development, we love the prospects, and so do I. But we can't hug them too tightly. You can't be so blinded by your own guys that you're afraid to move them.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at the top guys right now that are could be moved on the forward are going to be Turcotte and Velarde. And at the way Velarde is producing in the AHL level, he probably has the higher value. So, like, if you wanted to give up less assets, you probably would give up Velarde and keep Turcotte. But if it's the beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I mean, maybe people think Turcotte is the same thing as Velarde and was injured most of the beginning of his career, and Velarde is now multiple years healthy, and Turcotte can do the same thing when he gets multiple years healthy. So, it's all hypotheticals.
Yeah.
At this point, because who knows what goes on. I like Turcotte. I think that he's seems like a good guy. I know I saw on Instagram him and a couple of the boys went down to Cabo, and so he seems to be, a well integrated member of that team. I think it was Spence and Madden and a couple other guys went down there based on Instagram there. So I mean, he seems like a character guy. He comes from a good family. His dad's a first-round pick. He's been around. I mean, he hangs out with the Hughes family as well a lot, and so he's around hockey. He seems like a good dude. I think he's getting his play hasn't been there to earn that he's the elite prospect that he was when we drafted him of the organization, because the introduction of Clark and his play this year, where Byfield's draft position was, the resurgence of Velarde, et cetera, et cetera. But he's still, third according to Wheeler. I think most people would probably put him in their top 5. Yeah. I know I would, just based on wanting to give him more time. So what about you? I mean, would you still consider him in your top 5 as far as prospects for the team?
For Kings prospects? I think so. I would put, I know Wheeler I'd flip Velarde and Turcotte, I think. But I think I would have him. I would think I would have Turcotte in the top 5. Yes, because I think there's a valuable player there. Like, even if he is that middle 6 guy, but he's just a rock 2-way forward. You mentioned Iafallo, maybe something along that range or along that realm. That's not to say just because he may not be the elite point producer doesn't mean he can't be a productive NHL player and an important NHL player for the Kings. If he ends up sticking around and he's not somebody that's included in a trade, he is very likely going to be a valuable piece. And imagine, like, if I look at looking ahead to next season, if he maybe is somebody that could play along, maybe he plays alongside Quentin Byfield next year on the third line center. I think that would be great, right? I think there's opportunity here still for him. I'm not like throwing dirt on him and then he's done. It's just, my whole thing is looking at it from a value standpoint. Is his value only getting lower the more he doesn't produce, like at an elite level? Is that going to hurt his value from a trade standpoint? Because right now it probably is still pretty high, as it should be. He's still very young.
I think it's still prospect. A first-round value based on his draft position, but it's not. Yeah. I don't think it's a top 10, like top 10 pick type value anymore.
Like if you were to like a year ago, it would have been, he might not even be on the table. People were talking about not wanting to include him for Jack Eichel. Like, yeah. The thought of trading Velarde and Turcotte last summer for Eichel, you would have gotten abused on the Twitter. Now?
For me, that was only because of his injury question.
Well,
me personally.
you personally,
I can say we were saying Twitter, yeah.
Yeah, but like still people like, no way. And it's like they're both in the HL right now. So again, it's why I say you got to be careful. Don't hug them too tightly. So again, I like the player, and I hope people understand I'm coming at this from like a value standpoint rather than I hate the player type of thing, right?
I feel you. No points yet in the Avalanche Golden Knights game as we're talking right here. Let's see, because Eichel's supposed to make his debut tonight. Did he end up doing that?
Yeah. And
yeah, he is. Ice time. He has 4 minutes of ice time so far.
And by the way, just real quick, as we mentioned Jack Eichel, the pieces Buffalo got back are doing a hell of a job. Tuck's been great, and Krebs has been really good both here in Rochester in the American League, but also in his call up to Buffalo. So good on them.
He's already in Buffalo?
Yeah.
You know, hey, the piece I wrote a couple months ago documented like, hey, like he was supposed to be a top 10 pick and fell because of his injury. So go ahead and read that piece. That'll be deep dive if you want to go into Hockey Royalty for maybe what the Kings might do with their draft pick this year. But yeah, I mean, good back. I mean, they might not ever reach the potential of Eichel, but at least the pieces that they picked are producing.
Yes, absolutely. He picked up 2 assists yesterday, did Krebs. So, and
then the piece for Reinhart, the goalie, has looked excellent. So,
oh my God, their goaltending situation looks incredible.
Yeah,
in the minors. Yeah.
You know, it's so funny how like a lot of the armchair GMs and including us were like, man, did they get enough for Eichel, and are these really the right pieces and all this kind of stuff? Or hey, the Kings could have gave up more for Reinhart and gotten Reinhart, but maybe Buffalo wanted the goalie.
Yeah,
and that's what they wanted, and they got the piece that they wanted, and they're producing. So sometimes it's about the quality of the pick back, and maybe not the what people think they're back and forth, but. It's been great, man. Always good talking to you. I know we could probably go for another hour of hypothetical hockey talk, but the fans have more. We had another podcast come out earlier today being Wednesday, so check that one out. And this one will be out Thursday, depending on when you listen to it, or just listen to whenever. It's going to be where all podcasts are sold. Not a live show this time on YouTube, but 95% of the shows will be live. Getting everything set up there so that way you guys can interact. We love interacting with you fans. Always send us your questions there on Twitter for the fan shows as well. Joe, fantastic. Let them know where they can find you on the Twitskis.
JW Paterino.
I'm at Rando Commando 24. Again, you can find us at hockey_royalty. If you're watching YouTube, it's all down there at the bottom. Our website's hockeyroyalty.com. We also have gear and merch available. Joe was not wearing it this time. He wore it a couple episodes ago. T-shirts, hoodies, all this kind of stuff, mugs. Awesome. Pretty much everything you can want there. Awesome site there. They can find it at hockeyroyalty.com.
Yep.
And be repping the brand in LA. You guys going to be repping the brand, well, anywhere but rep it before it gets popular, man. You're going to say you're the OG of the Hockey Royalty community, repping it before it gets popular. So thank you guys for listening as always. And go Kings, go.
Go USA.
All the way, baby.